A woman named Elena Cruz opened a small computer rental shop in Manila in 2009 with 12 second-hand machines, and a loan she was still afraid to tell her mother about. She did not call it a gaming cafe. She called it a computer shop because in her neighborhood, most people did not own a computer at home, and she figured she was really just renting them internet access. Within 4 years, that shop had 40 seats, a waiting line on weekends, and profit margins that outperformed the noodle restaurant next door. Elena did not know it yet, but she had stumbled onto one of the strangest, most durable business models in the world, one that has quietly survived console wars, smartphones, a global pandemic, and a decade of experts predicting its death. This is the economics of owning a gaming cafe. And the real story is not about computers at all. Elena's first year almost broke her. Before she is proven right, you need to understand exactly what she was up against, because the price of entry into this business is brutal, and it catches almost everyone off guard. A serious gaming cafe today needs somewhere between 30 and 50 machines. Each one needs a strong graphics card, a fast processor, a decent monitor, a chair someone can sit in for 6 hours without their back giving out. Add it up, and a single machine can run close to $1,500. Multiply that by 40, and you are already past $60,000 before you have paid for a single thing that is not a computer. Then the invisible costs start stacking up. Commercial electricity, which in many countries runs almost double the residential rate, because 40 machines under full load pull an enormous amount of power. A serious internet connection, fast enough that a competitive gamer will not walk out the moment their screen freezes. Industrial-strength air conditioning, because a room full of computers generates its own weather system. License fees for the games themselves. By opening day, most owners have quietly spent somewhere close to $100,000, give or take, depending on the country and the equipment. Elena spent almost every peso she had on those 12 original machines. And for the first 6 months, she thought she had made the biggest mistake of her life. Here is the part almost nobody predicts correctly. Her slowest nights were not the ones with the oldest computers. They were the ones when customers came in alone. She started noticing a pattern. The regulars who kept coming back, week after week, were rarely the ones chasing the newest graphics card. They were groups. 5 friends splitting an hourly rate because none of them could afford a console on their own. University students escaping a cramped dorm room with no air conditioning. Teenagers who did not come for the games so much as they came for the noise, the company, the simple fact of being somewhere instead of nowhere. Elena started rearranging her shop almost by instinct, pushing seats closer together, adding a small television in the corner so people waiting for a machine had somewhere to stand and watch. She still thought she was running a computer rental business. She had actually started running something closer to a clubhouse. And that instinct, whether she fully understood it or not, is the hinge this entire industry swings on. Keep that idea in your head, because it comes back later in a way that explains almost everything else about how these businesses make and lose their money. For now, back to the numbers, because this is where most owners either build something real or quietly go broke. The obvious income is hourly rental. Say 70 cents an hour per seat. 40 seats, running an average of 10 hours a day, is roughly $280 daily from screen time alone. Over a month, that lands close to $8,400. Solid, but not the real story. The real story is sitting on a shelf behind the counter. Instant noodles that cost around 30 cents to prepare get sold for $1.50. Energy drinks bought wholesale for 50 cents get sold for $2. In a packed cafe, food and drink sales can rival, or even beat, the entire hourly rental income. What looks like one business selling computer time is actually 2 businesses stacked on top of each other. One sells access, the other sells convenience, and convenience has a much better markup. Elena's noodle counter, by her second year, was quietly out-earning her computers. But every gaming cafe owner eventually runs into the wall nobody warns them about, and it usually shows up around month 8 or 9, right when things finally feel like they are working. Computers running 12 to 14 hours a day, every day, do not age like home computers. Graphics cards overheat. Fans wear out in a year and a half instead of 5. And gamers are loyal to exactly one thing: performance, not people. If a new cafe opens 2 blocks away with faster machines and smoother frame rates, customers leave within a week. No warning. No hard feelings. Just gone. Electricity quietly becomes the next problem, sometimes eating close to a third of total revenue in places with expensive commercial power. Add staff to manage bookings, fix technical issues at 2 in the morning, and occasionally break up an argument over accusations of cheating, and the margins that looked so exciting on paper start shrinking fast. This is exactly the point where most new owners panic, and panic is what actually kills them, not the market. They stop upgrading machines to save money, and their regulars vanish to the competitor down the street. They skip a real internet connection to cut costs, and one bad night during a live tournament ends their reputation before the weekend is over. Gaming communities talk fast, and a laggy cafe rarely gets a second chance. Elena did the opposite, and it is worth sitting with why. Instead of treating upgrades as an expense to avoid, she treated them as the price of staying in business at all, the same way an airline cannot skip maintenance because business was slow that quarter. Cafe owners who survive long-term in cities like Seoul and Manila often reinvest a meaningful slice of monthly profit, sometimes reported around 15%, straight back into hardware, though exact figures vary widely by owner and are rarely published anywhere official. And this is where Elena's shop stopped being a place to rent a computer and started being a place people organized their week around. She noticed that a single tournament, hosted on an otherwise dead Tuesday afternoon, could fill every seat for 6 straight hours. Entry fees. A local energy drink brand paying to hang a banner on the wall. A spike in noodle sales that made the whole day feel like a weekend. She started hosting them monthly, then weekly. Her shop became the place where the local qualifiers happened, the place people were, in a strange way, proud to say they belonged to. That loyalty is worth more than any advertising budget could buy, and here is why it matters so much. A screen at home, no matter how powerful, cannot replicate the sound of 5 friends screaming after a last-second win, shoulder to shoulder, in the same room. That is the thing Elena was actually selling this whole time. Not frame rates, not hardware, a room. Which brings us to the threat that could make this entire business model obsolete, and it deserves more than a passing mention, because it is already reshaping the industry in real time. Cloud gaming lets someone stream high-end graphics to a cheap laptop or even a phone, with no expensive hardware required at all. In theory, that erases the entire argument for a physical gaming cafe. Why pay for a seat when your bedroom can do the same job? Some analysts genuinely believe this technology will hollow out the industry within a decade, the same way streaming reshaped video rental stores. It is a real threat, not a footnote, and any owner who ignores it is gambling with their business. But here is the piece cloud gaming cannot replicate, and it is the same piece Elena figured out by accident over a decade ago. It can stream the graphics. It cannot stream the room. It cannot replicate 5 people sitting shoulder to shoulder, and it cannot manufacture the specific feeling of being somewhere instead of alone with a screen. The cafes most likely to survive the next 10 years are not the ones with the newest hardware. They are the ones that understood, long before the threat arrived, that they were never really in the hardware business. So how much can an owner actually walk away with? A well-run, mostly full 40-seat cafe can realistically generate somewhere in the range of $12,000 to $18,000 a month once food, drinks, and rentals are combined, though this shifts significantly by country and location. After rent, electricity, staff, and constant upgrades, a healthy margin often lands between 20% and 30%, putting realistic monthly profit somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000. These are rough, estimated figures, not audited ones, but in cities where the cost of living is lower, that range can be genuinely life-changing. Elena still runs her shop. It has 46 seats now, a waiting list most Friday nights, and a wall covered in tournament photos going back over a decade. She never set out to build a community. She set out to rent computers to people who could not afford their own. The community built itself, one lonely customer at a time, and it is still the reason her cafe is standing while dozens of competitors around her have quietly closed. If you had to bet on a business surviving the next wave of technology, would you bet on the one with the best hardware or the one with the fullest room? Elena's answer has held up for 15 years. Whether it holds for 15 more may be the most interesting question in this entire industry, and it is one worth watching closely.